is present over here. Thank you so much, Sahil sir, for inviting us to this wonderful panel. Means we've been waiting for long to commence this much awaited panel. There is always a fascinating tension between the founder's unshakable vision and the investor's data-driven validation. And today, means we have three renowned experts of this domain who will be, means helping us to resolve this tension. And let's see that how the startup ecosystem can build up and how, means we can solve this tug of war. So, we have few questions. So let me start with Sumit sir first. Sir, so investors, means they're often seen as the gatekeepers of the practicality, while founders are driven by the emotions and ambition. So, from your experience, how do you balance this emotional vision of a founder and means the rational validation that the investors require?
So first of all, thank you so much for having me, and thank you Sahilji for giving us this wonderful opportunity to part of this wonderful evening with very intellectual people here. So coming to your question, definitely once things come for investment, first thing is why investments. So that's a very very difficult question which everyone has in mind. Investment हम क्यों करें? क्योंकि there are a lot of things that are coming in mind. Like some people will say, if I have to invest into any product, that should be beat the inflation, because if there is a traditional way of investment, even it cannot beat the inflation. So a lot of people will have started thinking. You have seen the industry mutual fund industry has already gone to 76 lakh crore. So which is almost 8.5 lakh crore from a Y-on-Y basis growth. So emotional kind of thing, once it comes, majorly we have seen on the real estate side and even on the investment in the gold. So whenever people are in India household story, if you see, everyone wants to invest into the gold. तो हमें चाहिए, जब भी investment into gold के बाद, even then into ornaments. So पर जब आप इसको देखते हो कि 2002 if one has invested into gold, तो अगर किसी ने 10 लाख भी gold में invest किया, so today's values is only 2.5 crores. But if someone has invested into equity, same amount, 10 lakh in 2002, can you believe that investment amount is almost 14 crore? So there is a huge gap. So once the things come into investment on the person side as well as on the company side, so there is one way of which is called asset allocation. So if one is taking care of that thing, gold है, हर किसी का choice है, real estate हर किसी की choice है. You can put some investment into different pockets, but yes, you should have everything in the.
Like the saying goes, don't keep all your eggs in a single basket.
Absolutely.
Keep investing.
Absolutely.
Awesome, sir. So, ma'am, coming to you, many founders, they say that when they go and pitch before the investors often clip their wings by giving the certain reasons of data validation. So, what's your advice to the founders out there that if you are going to the investors, how you can, means pitch by staying true to your vision as well as giving validation for the investors?
Thank you so much for that question, Ati. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Preeti Chaudhary and I am the founder and managing partner at Madhya Bharat Angels, looking at empowering Hindi-speaking startup founders from 6 states of Central India. Thank you, Sahil, for having all of us at Transform 14, and thank you to the Punjab Angels Network. Coming to your question, Ati, I think in today's day and age, data is something that gives us wings truly. Anything unsubstantiated and out of the emotions does not work, especially if you are going to be playing with somebody else's money. You better have the insights and analytics which are proven by numbers and not just emotions. So personally, if you ask me, all of the decisions that are made for giving someone else's, after all of us are representing high net worth individuals or LPs, basically it is somebody else's money and it cannot be just floundered away on the whim or a fancy. Everything needs to be substantiated, and there has to be solid reason as to why you are going to be asking for that money, and it has to be validated. I think it's extremely important for founders to understand that you are actually playing with somebody else's money, and if you don't have your headspace and your skin in the game, then nobody is going to be paying you for actualizing your dreams if you're not substantiating it. So in a nutshell, I think it's extremely important to keep in mind that every rupee or dollar that goes into any business does have a definitive ROI or return of investments, because after all, it is an investment, it has to compound, and where will that come from? It will come from data-driven insights and the learnings from the markets, keeping in mind all the volatilities and making informed choices out of those data-driven insights. So extremely important. I think nobody needs to play with anybody else's money, but make informed choices. That's my take on that. Thank you very much for that.
Awesome, ma'am, awesome. Thank you so much. Coming to you, Sandeep sir. Sir, as someone who mentors startup through the fundraising journey, where do you see that founders go wrong when they communicate to the investors while putting their ask in front of them?
See, the biggest thing is, let me take it from a different perspective. What's the purpose of the enterprise? And what's the purpose of the life of the entrepreneur? These are two very important questions to ask before an entrepreneur gets into the journey of expedition of the startup. All right? First of all, entrepreneurship is like going to the Mount Everest. I just saw Sahil's presentation, and I remember when I was a student, there was an expedition to Antarctica which failed. And it failed because the preparation was not complete. They picked up the wrong shoes of the dogs. So what is very important is, why is the entrepreneur into entrepreneurship? That's the most important question. And what happens, and my experience tells me, some get into entrepreneurship because they are fed up of their boss. Yeah. Or they are looking at 3 times to 5 times their current salary. And then they are trying to get into seeking funds from, let me tell you something, I have created a startup and I'm myself struggling to get funding because I don't have a revenue yet. So if I cannot show you MVP 1, right, I may have MVP 0, which is my prototype. I may have a vision, but till I don't walk my talk, buy my money, it is just impossible for an entrepreneur to expect money. The first round is normally, and let me make you laugh, the first round of funding comes from 3F. Why are you laughing, sir? What is the third F? Friends, family, and fools. Okay? The biggest challenge which is emerging is that the investor is looking at return. And if you don't give him an exit, whichever level you are funding, whether you are funding for angel funding, till you don't show him the window of series 0, he's not able to see the map, right? So what I'm trying to say is that the entrepreneurship is the most difficult, I would say, career of anyone. I see so many people, and I've got privilege to, I've just come back to India. I've not yet come back to India, I'm shunting between Dallas and Delhi. There is a lady who's, 20 years into, she's a India head, ex-India head, PwC. Today she's a mentor to startups. She says the entrepreneurs don't have vision. What is missing today is lack of vision of entrepreneurs. So what I'm doing as an idea to unicorn is a workshop called business visioning. So what is most important for an entrepreneur to do is first go back to the drawing board, why I'm becoming an entrepreneur. So if I'm becoming an entrepreneur to earn 5 times the money of what my salary can get me, please don't ask for money from the market. Because 5 times the money is very easy to get. You are saving tax, which gives you 50% increment, right? And then if you are good at your work, you have some service, you will certainly get 5 times your previous salary. Now, let's look at the other thing. Let me tell you what I mean by idea to unicorn, and let me share with you at least 6, 7, 8 books which are, I'm not a theorist, okay? And I don't want to become a professor. So I have workshops, and they are really relevant workshops for the startups. And I'm not marketing myself, don't get me wrong. There are workshops, some of their material is really available free on LinkedIn. So business visioning is actually nothing else but my Dream Life workshop. And the Dream Life workshop is not about profession, it is about who am I, right? Health. Health is spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical health, right? Jeff is a very close friend, and I've been into pranic healing. I'm not a healer, but I've learned pranic healing. I've been very lucky to learn healing as well as Buddhism and Christianity while I'm a born Hindu. So the core is that Aham Brahmasmi. So I'm the most powerful person on earth. Right? So if I'm the most powerful person on earth, I'm able to attract or manifest whatever I want in my life. So therefore, to be able to do that, that visioning is the most important thing. The end state of my enterprise, like the end state of my Athananda is 1 billion people, okay? 1 billion people interacting on my platform, and I'm giving 360-degree devotee service. I'm making a guru Sadguru. It may be a joke for people because asarams exist in this world. But I'm focused on branding, online digital marketing using AI, and services across all aspects of spirituality. And that is my business. I'm in the business of spirituality. My spirituality is independent of my business of spirituality. I'm pretty clear about it, right? That is business visioning. Now, crossing the chasm. I don't know how many of you understand chasm or crossing the chasm. Well, I really love our gentleman, the previous presentation of your chain. Crossing the chasm is the most difficult aspect of an entrepreneur's business. The moment you start your business, innovators come. Innovators don't give you financial viability. Financial viability comes out of early majority. And let me tell you, 95% of the people fall in the moat. It's called moat or chasm. I was very lucky to pick up that book in 1994 called Crossing the Chasm by Geoffrey Moore. And it tells you to focus on one single service. Your technology may do 10 things in life. Pick up 2 or 1 and go for it. That is crossing the chasm. You want to learn? I'm here to teach you without charging you anything. The third most important thing which we are offering to the startups, and it's really wonderful, I'm damn lucky to get Sumit Kundu as a part of my team. He is 40 years into franchising, and it will be founders, I would say, dream come true that you can grow without diluting your equity, right? So if you have MVP 1 plus EBITDA positive, which is the easiest thing to do, and whether you are selling technology or whether you are selling any other business, 80% of businesses fall in these 2 categories, which is either they need resellers, which is distributors, or they need franchises, right? If Kundu can take Baluchi, Pin Baluchi from 0 to 150 and build up his relationship with his, with the owner for 25 years, we are made in gold. And what we are offering to you is, don't dilute your equity, just come to us. We will charge you money. I'm not giving you anything free. If I'm McKinsey of startups, I will charge you my fee. And if you don't respect that, and a lot of Indians don't respect consulting to be paid, I'm sorry, I'm not your, you are not my client, right? But the fact is that if you want to save your equity, almost 25 to 50% of your equity dilution, we have the strategy, right? And the next one is the book called Good to Great. And in the book Good to Great, every company can become good, but few companies become great. And that is the unicorn. And the 2-3 things which are said in that book very clearly, and I was lucky to read that book again in 95, 97. And let me tell you two more things before I bore you more. So, Good to Great has got first who, then what. If I have to have you as my partner, it's important for me to know you first, before I decide what I want to do with you. And what I'm trying to know is how pure you are, what is your integrity level, whether you will walk my talk, right? Whether you will walk your talk and whether you will. And the most important thing is, when I'm down and out, will you walk out of me? And that is partnership, right? So the core of partnership is not that today I'm transacting. The core of partnership is, do we see eye to eye? And that is what Jeff and me were discussing in the car today, that we want to talk about integrity. And integrity, trust, and integrity, trust, and purity is more important to me than business. It is very difficult to get it.
Right, great. Taking from the traits that you just mentioned, means taking up from the question that why entrepreneurship, I like to ask Sumit sir, that financials are the key, but so is the founder's credibility. So apart from the financials, means metrics, what non-financial signals or trait you see in founder before investing?
This is really a very, very important question. Thank you for asking this. In fact, Motilal Oswal is into this business from last 20 years. So we started this journey in 2005. We started our first fund with a 500 crore. And recently we launched fund around 8,000 crore. Now our single investment is for 500 crore. Wow. And the best part is, the first check, whenever there is any investment, it comes from our promoter side. So we actually helped, many businesses to grow from this level to this level. I will give you a few examples as well. We invested in a company called Dixon Technology. So we invested at a valuation of just 135 crore. And today, as you see, the company is already more than 1 lakh crore plus valuations. We invested in AU Small Finance Bank. We invested at a valuation of just 200 crores. And now the valuation is more than 50,000 crores plus. So there are many examples where we help businesses to grow from here to here. So now coming to your question, whenever we are investing into any company, the most important thing is, promoter ka vision kya hai? That is the most important thing. Whether promoter wants his company to grow from, next 3 years. See, today he's having top line, let's suppose 200, 300 crore. Whether he has that enthusiasm, I will take this to maybe 1,000 crore or 1,500 crore in next 3 years, 5 years down the line. How involved he is into the business to leke, what are his strategies, overall, teamwork se leke, how they are working, and the अभी जो पहले वाला सिनेरियो था and जो in today's scenario, जो अभी वाले जो प्रमोटर जो अभी वाले जो young generation, they are actually very, very enthused. They are they want things to take from here to here. So we are, yes, obviously investor का पैसा तभी बनेगा if promoter is having that enthusiasm, that knowledge about his industry, clarity of thoughts, that is very, very important. So we work very, very closely on all these things. And most important, honesty, integrity, ये सब चीज़ें कंपनी में वो सब चीज़ों के ऊपर how they are working. All these things are very, very important once you are investing into any company.
That's true, sir. That's true. So ma'am, sir was speaking about the generations, and you have closely worked with a lot of generations, including the generations functioning in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. So how do you think that how much important it is to collaborate between the ecosystem partners like the incubators, investors, and it's all the startup ecosystem, so that the validation and the vision can coexist?
Thank you, Ati, for that. I think what you asked is really valid, and you're speaking about this probably a chasm between tier 1 and tier 2 as well as multi-generational startup founders. So I think a lot goes into getting a founder from 0 to 1 in a tier 2 and below setup, as you compare it to say a tier 1 sort of a setup. There are the challenges and obstacles are multifold, so thereby the possibilities multiply when there are collaborations with all the stakeholders involved. And then the beauty of being in a tier 2 city, and Chandigarh is one, and so is my little town of Jabalpur. The community that exists over there is anyway collaborative in nature. So when all the dots of the ecosystem come together, like say the incubators, the investors, the founders, the mentors, I think a beautiful story sort of starts emerging. And when you have multi-generational inputs coming in as well, then it's another level altogether. All of these things come naturally to people in the tier 1 startup ecosystem, whereas in the tier 2 and below ecosystem, everybody comes together and then we pull in all these resources. So I think collaboration over competition is always the key to making a story even much more better, because with competition you can only go a little bit, but if you collaborate beautifully and if you have complementary skills, even if you are 2 startup founders or 3 startup founders or different startup founders, if you have complementary skills, I think collaboration goes a much longer way. So I think it's a beautiful time and place to be in India at this point in time, and especially in the tier 2 and below India, because that is where the next story and the next generation of entrepreneurs are coming from, Ati. As you know very well, and as I think all of us in this room know very well.
I think that it's the power of collaboration only that we all are sitting here together, it's enjoying this lovely panel. Coming to you, sir, what fascinates you more, pitching or prototyping?
Well, prototyping. I could have prototyped more than 6 prototypes. I worked agnostically across 10, 11 industries. I've had more than 20 jobs. So you can understand what kind of village, knowledge I have. But the fact is, the most important thing is the creativity around prototyping. See, let me share with you something different. All of us are engineers. We are able to make plans. And planning is a left brain exercise. Okay? Nobody is teaching us visualization. Nobody is teaching us creativity. Being creative, visualizing, intuitive, childlike, this is all right brain work. And right brain is the master of the left brain. Right? So therefore, when you get into creativity, whether it's branding, whether it is, for example, I gave the name Petrocard to Bharat Petro. And let me tell you, Lintas tried their best to name it different. And it failed because it was a generic brand. And it was the first name. We had T-City. T-City was a brand we created with the vision of KK Modi. He was a visionary. And Let me tell you, we were 25 years ahead of the retail revolution. I had 7, so that's the creativity. And then when you tackle the problem of economic viability of a concept, and then you tweak it, that's another level of creativity. So pitching is, see, let me tell you something. Today my observation is that there are multiple people who are going through the hoops of pitching without adding value to the entrepreneur. I don't see people changing the presentation of an entrepreneur. All they're doing is, I've got 5 investors, and please come in, pitch, pay 5,000 rupees, so that I can pitch. Boss, pitching is, you are putting your heart, your vision to the investor. And most important thing which she said, that if you are seeking money, you have to be 10 times more responsible for that money. Because it's somebody else's money. I've seen situations where people are expecting the money because they want a lavish lifestyle. Then what is bootstrapping? Then what is that story where an entrepreneur slept on the platform of a railway station? Right? There are no shortcuts in life.
That's true. So, as we draw closer, to the closing of this panel, very quickly, one word of wisdom which you would like to share with the audience. So, starting with you.
So, in our investment line, what we have learned is, from our even promoters, they have been into this business from last 4 decades. So one thing is very important is discipline. That is very, very important in the investment side. So whenever you are doing investment, never look in short term. Give time to your money to grow. So look for a very, very long term perspective, 5-year, 10-year, 20-year, 30-year. I will give you an example. If you are investing, let's suppose if your money can be doubled, let's suppose in 5 years. So that means invested 100 rupees today can become 400 in 10 years. And in next 20 years, it can become almost 1600, 16 times. And in 30 years, it can become 64 times. So start early. So if people are starting their career early, they think 5 साल बाद करेंगे, 10 साल बाद करेंगे. So people need to start early and stay invested for a very, very long time. So this will definitely.
So start early and stay invested.
Power of compounding.
Power of compounding, yes, it helps.
Great. Ma'am, from your side.
I think it is more of a marathon than a sprint, and I totally agree with you right here. I think, and as well as sort of thoughtful consideration, keeping everything in mind, and again, data plays a very important part over here. Every investment needs to be an informed choice. As founders, first of all, I think what matters to me is how much of your skin you have in this game, because until and unless you put in your own hard-earned money into your own vision and dream, no investor is ever going to bet on you. So first of all, that is what I look at. Secondly, personally for me, staying on the right side of the law, which means compliances, whether they are legal compliances, financial compliances, or any sort of compliances, those absolutely matter to me. And third and the last thing is founder integrity and discipline. How true are you to yourself? How true are you to your team, to your family, and everybody else involved? So those 3 things for me. Thank you.
So stay true to your commitment. That's great. Sir, over to you, please.
Let me say it differently. See, what is more important is what word resonates with you in your life. That is the most important thing, and that drives your life, right? And let me add 1 or 2, 3 other things. Money is nothing else but energy, and it flows with you if you have the right energy.
So, we have learned from this panel that tug of war between vision and validation is not a war to win, but it's really an act of balance to achieve. So thank you so much to the wonderful panelists for creating this panel discussion. So learning and so much, means enriching experience for us. And thank you so much Transform 14.2 for having us. Thank you so much. Have a lovely evening here. Thank you so much.